Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Ryan. Today I'm joined by...
I'm Ted.
Nathan Nerdarch.
Eric Steve.
And before we get to anything else, we have Nerdarchy, the newsletter, which you can sign up for down here. It'll be in the description there, and you can just click the link. And if you want to get the latest and greatest nerdy news, what's going on, be made aware of things first, you can get it there. And also find out how to game with Nerdarchy. Now on to this GM911. So we had a tweet from at TTV's Timmy, and his question was regarding the making of a homebrew campaign. What are the minimum requirements for making a campaign? He wants to know, do I need to do a whole town or city, and would it be difficult to improvise all those things and aspects? So well, what do we think
how
about
that? This? Well, when you and I started running our games in Griffin Gaff, how much work did we do?
More than we normally do. To be honest, because like we had come up, like I guess I had come up with like a list of like maybe a half a dozen places and the names of NPCs that go with those places, and a list of rumors. I think that's it.
I don't even remember if there was a list of rumors, but
you used the list of rumors.
Okay, I remembered that there were like 3 or 4 places that were talked about, but then as people started saying, "Hey, I want to go visit here, or I want to go visit there," what's around, and I would just, here you go, here's this.
Or let them make it up.
Well, so you can let them make it up too, like giving player agency. That's a very cool and important thing. Like, generally speaking, your characters have those backgrounds in their story and their classes. Like, where did they receive that training? Where did they learn to do the thing that they did?
Did they receive it in the town they're at, or have they moved on after they received it?
Yeah, if they're going to be from that locale and they receive that training, it's good to have that NPC relationship formed, and figure that out.
Absolutely.
It looked like you had something there.
Yeah,
too.
for Stationton, I had a inn because I was going to burn sections of it down in the first section.
So you need an inn that
you need stuff
with
to protect
collateral damage.
So yeah, I needed something to be collateral damage. It wasn't all destroyed because part of it's stone because it's like a really old settlement. I had an abbey, which also was the library, but it was a private library, so you had to pretty much either know the people or get in good with them to get into the library.
So you had like an elite society type of thing.
Well, because a noble woman owned the library because they owned the abbey, and that was one of the player characters. So I only made that abbey up in reaction to them being there. Then I had a blacksmith because I just wanted a blacksmith in the town, and it's on a merchant circuit of like merchant caravans and all kinds of things come and go. So even though it's a small town, it's still warranted having a decent blacksmith that could make weapons and arms and other things and fix wagons and stuff. So aside from that, that was my entire town plan out, and I was going to be surrounded by lots of farmers.
So like you have like your core locales, like usually it's going to be an inn or a tavern.
If there's a sea, ocean, or major waterway.
Yeah, so then there's going to be like wharfs or docks or something like that. You're going to have a general store, maybe a blacksmith. So like the general thing where people bought their hempen rope and this and that. Probably at least a temple or two. And then there's the other confines are like, well, what's the adventure entail? Those are the things that you have to have planned. Like, are they going to do battle with the Thieves Guild? Well, now you have to have locations where the thieves are going to do their business, but otherwise, everything else only comes into existence right at the moment that the players need it and want it, want to seek it out.
I would say,
ask for it. Yeah, ask for it. I would say, sure, it's there.
I would say that you definitely need to know what you as the DM consider the size of the locale is. Is it
not so? I would go. I would take that a step further and not say the size, but the scope.
Well,
So is it a hamlet? Is it a village? Is it a small to large town? Is it a city? If you don't have
so you're saying population and what it actually serves a purpose for. Like my town.
Well, what about like one sentence, right? That kind of just sums up the experience of this starting location. Like we knew Griffin Gaff. We wanted Griffin Gaff to basically be built up in the shadow of a previous war, and we knew that it was a boom town, not quite not a city yet, but bigger than a large town.
Right. And then it was definitely in the process of still growing, And for those of us for those of you guys who have been watching, there's been a lot that's happened. It's gotten bigger. Walls have started going up. So like all this stuff happens over the scope of the game.
Yeah, like the city is in flux, or it's heading towards city-dom eventually. But like the thing is too, I guess if you're doing like a city or a metropolis, you might want to have just the sketched out of like names of different districts that people can mention. Not necessarily that you're going to go there, but it gives the idea that there's a bigger, like that you're in a much bigger space if you know that there's districts that you're not even going to touch on or visit.
Well, a really important aspect of this question was at the tail end. Improvising, like how much improvising should you do? This actually...
the question was like difficulty of improvising, which I think is a super personal thing, because I prefer to be more prepared, so I improvise less. I just prepare. I like to have, it's almost like learning jazz, where you learn how to play an instrument really, really well, so the improvising gets better and easier.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Depending on how good you are at improvising determines how much material you need ahead of time. So, but it could be real generic material and real generic lists of things that you just kind of pick from when you need something. So maybe it's not like fleshed out yet, but at least it gives you something to put out there that you can, a framework that you can work within.
Like maybe if you have names of different locations or businesses that you don't even have assigned what that is, if it's a library or an inn or a keep or whatever, you just have a bunch of like cool, fantastical names, like say 20 of those, names of 20 different NPCs, and like, oh, well, the players need it, I'll assign this to that, this works, and then just make sure you make note of it, and because consistency, once you establish that thing, is more the important thing. Like if they're going back there again, try to figure out, like if you do like a Scottish accent for the NPC dwarf or whatever, that NPC dwarf should have that accent, every time you go back to visit him or her.
Yeah, when you do a lot of improvising, you're going to do a lot of note taking. That goes without saying, so that your campaign world stays consistent.
And that's the advantage we have of everything being recorded. You can always go back and say, well, hey, let's write that.
Except for it's like 4 or 5 hours. It's like, do I really want to go back and figure out?
It is much easier to take the notes.
Yeah.
I found. My Outcast game, when we started that, I didn't really make up anything. Like, I didn't fill in any of the details before we started. And as we started playing, I would just throw things out there, or let the players throw things out there, and I'd just jot down notes.
Yep.
But you had the overall feel or idea of how the place was going to lay out, right? Like, not like, oh, this street's going to go this way and that way, but is there a separation between the people, the has and the haves not, like a wall or something, or like how's the hierarchy, like anything like that? Not
we
concrete,
came up with
but just like the kind of overall, like, well, this is just everybody's.
I actually let my players do a lot of that.
Well, I mean, but
Zero.
wait, but even before that, we did a video about it, and then we made it into like the setting of the thing. So I mean, like we brainstormed it.
That's true. Yeah, we had a brainstorm session beforehand.
And then you just kind of fleshed out. Well, the players fleshed out, and then you added some other details from there.
Yeah. So a lot of basically from that, a lot of it just went on the fly from that framework we initially did. Which, I mean, the most important parts of that can probably be boiled down to 1 to 3 sentences.
Yes.
Of the video we did, and even the session 0. And like that's the most important thing that you need to do is like you just have to understand like the feel you're going for with that setting, and then you can kind of run from there. I'm always a proponent for doing less work up front, and then starting small and building out. Because like say you start off in this town, right, and you the GM go, oh, you know what, I'm going to do it all. They're going to like this town is done when we start the game. Well, in session 3, they leave the town and never come back.
Yeah, or they won't be back there for like 10 or 20 sessions, and then like, well, I mean, like you'll always, if you're building your own homebrew world, you'll always have that to go back to, and you can run other games in that.
But you don't need to make it before
you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like let your story inform. Like, oh, I want to do a story arc with like rival thieves guild. Well, I guess I need to put a significant crime, a couple of crime organizations in here. And we need some businesses for them to extort. So you need to have something for them to do.
There's the aspect of if you enjoy doing it, you can do it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
But if you don't have the time.
But if you don't have you don't have the time. And 2, like, it also limits you from the ability to have it grow more organically.
Yeah.
When you've already done it all. I mean, because then I feel like most people, if they do it all, they're going to be less inclined to
change.
To start erasing the lines they've already drawn and changing it up because their players went in a different direction because they've already invested the time.
Yeah, they put time and energy into creating something, and then the players are like, well, I need this thing, or I want this particular store, and like, well, there's no room on the street for that.
Or how about this? How about just a character wants to play an elf from the city? No, actually, in the year of the Great Elven Purge, all elves were wiped out from ever living in civilization. So sorry, you can't be an elf that comes from the city.
So there's all kinds of things like that. So a lot of it is to taste, and then how much time you have to dedicate to it, and then how much time do you want to dedicate to it up front, where you could actually just build it as you go, and a lot of that's your comfort level. But that being said, right, if you're not good at improvising, you can do there's a lot of ways to cheat. Like that should be a video we actually do, how to cheat at improvising.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things you could do, I call this GM reconnaissance. Okay, it's really sneaky and really hard. What you do is you ask your players what they plan on doing next session. So, like if they plan to do such and such and such, you prepare such and such and such. I mean, it's pretty easy. Like people, and by the end of the session, like,
and that's when I like to implement what I like to call player switching bait.
Yeah, as a player, I don't do the thing that I said I was going to do. Yeah, but usually towards the end of your game, your players, as they're packing up, start talking about what they're going to do next session. But you can just kind of lead and drive that conversation. You can be really blatant about it. I want to know what to have prepared for the game. Because just because, they might want to bait and switch you, but then it's be prepared for a suboptimal, mediocre session.
Think about how many comments and emails and stuff we get about the players, where the players set up the situation where they believe it's them versus the DM. So they actually talk about trying to keep things secret from the DM and not telling them what's going on. And I've also seen DMs say the same thing.
Yeah, I would session zero that to not be how my group would function. That would be, yes. I mean, that would be for me. I'm just look, this is not the type of game I want to engage in, because I don't want to spend hours making stuff that you guys aren't going to do. That would be
not even that. It's
or be interested in.
Here's the thing, right? If as the GM, right, we have all these books full of threats and perils.
We could kill the
not
players.
To mention our imaginations.
Yeah.
Killing your character is not really that hard. It's actually overwhelmingly easy if I want to take out player characters.
All right, maybe they could stand their ground against one Tarask, but two Tarasks.
A pot of Tarask.
It's mating season, and in order for them to spawn, they need to kill and devour
Adventurers.
Yes, of the highest order.
Yeah.
So getting back to the subject, I would say a degree of importance. You can kind of assign that oh, I don't know what I named my inn in this town. So what? Just pick a name.
Yeah.
Boar's hat, Boar's head.
Every town has the three-legged dog. So
yeah, every town's, and they've got a story behind it. And just do free association. What's the story behind it? Maybe if the place is named Kerplop, perhaps there's a really eccentric person that decided to do that, or it's an inside joke, and he's just yeah, I'm going to name my inn that, and then someone bet him not to, and he's like, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And it's actually a fish place that serves a lot of fish, and it's kind of like an eccentric halfling or something like that. He's always loved fish, and Kerplop is.
See, now I was thinking there was no inn there, and then one could plop down, So
yeah, it could also be that. It's this just happened to come around.
Or the sound of a bobber hitting the water.
Degree of importance. Right? Even a silly name can be used, and the people are going to remember that silly name.
The wool shop could be dyed in the wool. There you go.
And isn't that the point? If you want to get customers as an establishment, the name, even if it's
the name
silly,
is the draw.
If people are like, oh yeah, there's this really crazy place, Kerplop, we gotta go.
There's a sports store in contemporary, United States called Dick's. It's just a dude's name, and it's funny. So you could have Richards in your world, Richards General Store.
Yeah. So that's a degree of importance. How important is that this is named this and this is here?
Yeah. If it's a minor
unless it's
key
high
thing.
symbolism for something further than the line, well then plan that out if you want to get some symbolism in your game. But for 90% of the other stuff,
it's not that important.
Is this going to derail the campaign by people laughing for the next half an hour? Then don't name it that. But
unless you were playing a humorous game. But,
yeah.
So with that, I think that gives you guys enough to go off of. In the comments, you're going to get ton more suggestions, Timmy. So while you're at it, guys, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out the articles over on nerdarchy.com.
You can hang out with us on Facebook.
You can also check out the store over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time, stay nerdy.
TTV's Timmy, and his question was regarding the making of a homebrew campaign. What are the minimum requirements for making campaign? He wants to know: do I need to do a whole town or city, and would it be difficult to improvise?
Go with those places, and a list of rumors. I think that's it.
I don't even remember if there was a list of rumors, but
You used the list of rumors.
Okay, I remembered, that there were like 3 or 4 places that were talked about, but then as people,
All those things and aspects. So
well,
what do we think?
How
about
about
that?
this? Well, when you and I started running our games in Griffin Gaff, how much work did we do?
More than we normally do. To be honest, because like we had come up, like I guess I had come up with like a list of like maybe half a dozen places and the names of NPCs.
Anything else? We have Nerdarchy, the newsletter, which you can sign up for down here. It'll be in the description there, and you can just click the link. And if you want to get the latest and greatest nerdy news, what's going on, be made aware of things first, you can get it there, and also find out how to game with Nerdarchy. Now on to this GM 911. So we had a tweet from. Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ryan. Today I'm joined by
Ted.
Nathan Nerdark.
Eric Steve.
And before we get to